Hi, Aid from Red Monkey here. Now at the start of each month I'm going to be showing you what I believe are the best sports car bargains or cars to look out for over the next couple of weeks. So I'll be going through the main auction sites, highlighting the cars that stand out in one particular way that might be a bargain, a long-term prospect, and fulfill certain criteria that make them a worthwhile buy. Now if you like this sort of content, please make sure you subscribe. I might be doing this every 2 weeks, but certainly at the start of every month. I'll see how it goes. I've been quite busy lately. So let's go into it, and starting off with the first car. On collectingcars.com is a BMW E30 M3, which I believe, and many believe, is the outstanding M car ever to have been built. I quite like the M1, which was co-designed with Lamborghini. But as a car with real kudos, almost up to the level of an Integrale, and certainly up to the level of an Audi Quattro, this M3 really is a child of the 80s, with its bulbous wheel arches, aggressive stance, the BBS wheels, very much a driver's car with a huge reputation. Now this one, 6 days to go at 42,000. If they're mint low mileage, you could expect these to go between 80 and 100,000. And this one might reach 50, 60 or so, not too sure, because it's done quite a lot of mileage. You can see here, 156,000 kilometres, which is 90 odd thousand miles. Well, there you go, 97. But what makes this car perhaps a decent buy is the recent history. I'll try and put all these links down below for you so you can have a look at the sites yourselves. But what stands out here is that it was a full recommissioned job was carried out by a reputable, knowledgeable company with this car in 2015, which took it right back to its shell. And that's the kind of thing you want to see on a car that's 30 odd years old. Right, next up, which is coming soon on Collecting Cars, is a Ferrari Testarossa. Now it's not a monoposto, which only has the one wing mirror, but they come at an extreme premium. This is one to keep an eye on, as it's a coming soon car. He hasn't got any current bids, and he hasn't got any further information. But again, look at the link below, keep an eye on it, give it a watch, and you'll see how far it goes if this kind of car is on your own watch list. Another epic car currently on coming soon on Collected Cars is a 2000 Impreza P1. Now this, and I think it's called 22B, with its 2 doors, always stood out to me as a proper race rally replica. It just looks the part immediately, very much sought after. This is one of those cars where I've got no real idea of what the value would be. I've got no idea about looking at the past. It depends on the province, of course, and the mileage. But overall, this is a stunning car. 39,000 miles is going to be below usual sort of averages. And it's in the right colour. Hasn't got the gold wheels, but if it means that much to you, you can have them powder coated. Next up, also on Collecting Cars, coming soon, is the 968 Club Sport. Now I in fact had a yellow 968 Sport, but the Club Sport was the one that people really desired and was used in racing, and it still can be found on racetracks, particularly at the Nürburgring. Cracking car. It did rise in value in the late 90s, early noughties, but I think now is the time, the way if you can get a bargain on an auction site with a decent car, you're looking at a good long-term bargain and a lot of fun in the meantime. Next up in Collecting Cars, one of the cars on my list of 25 that I eventually want to own. It's not a Spider, but it's a coupe, and that's worth keeping an eye on. I think it's a car that is quite unique, it's stunning, it's got a carbon tub. Now, really, the only other cars that have that at any price near about 100,000 mark is older McLarens. And they come with their own problems with prices and running costs. This sounds probably better than most of those McLarens. It looks stunning. Early cars had issues with some of the handling characteristics. I think it was suspension related, but they've all now been sorted because it's a well-known issue and they've been fettered over time. It's worth buying, a lot of fun, and it will not go down in value and will probably over the long term increase somewhat. Right, next up is the amazing Honda NSX from the mid-90s, a very much sought after car, and prices have been rising over the last few years. Now this one on historics.co.uk estimated at 39 to 45 looks far too cheap, even with 65,000 miles. It's worth having a look at. I suspect it might go higher than that. These are now getting harder and harder to get hold of. Those who have them are keeping them, or they're sawing them, taking them off road as a long-term investment. So if you get an opportunity like this, it's a car you're after, now's the time to look at it. Also on historics, and another car on my list of 25 I wish to purchase, is an Audi Quattro Turbo. This one in a cracking shade of white, very desirable, estimated 27 to 33. It's done quite a lot of miles at 82, but that shouldn't scare you. These Audi engines are amazing. I've seen one for sale, looked mint, with 160,000 miles on the clock. Therefore, 82,000 for a car from 1989 should not scare you in the least. Have a good look at the provenance and the history as usual, but overall, this is a fabulous car to own and drive with good long-term prospects. Well, another car that stood out to me on the historic site is a Tommi Makinen Evo VI. Now, I'm pretty weak on Subarus and Mitsubishi Lancers because I've never particularly desired them. However, I do recognise them as amazing cars. Of the era, they were beating the Ferraris and Lamborghinis at the time, albeit with the four-door practicality. So very desirable, and some of the Japanese tuning crowd will just fall over themselves for this sort of car. I think the Tommi Mac is a decent addition to get. This one, a 2000 car, listed 28 to 30,000 estimate. I know, 28 to 36,000, that's leaning forward because of my dodgy eyesight. With just about 58,000 miles. That looks like a pretty good buy to me. Again, these are the sort of cars that are getting rarer and rarer. You can't get hold of them when you really want one. So if you're in the market for this sort of car, go to historics.co.uk. At least keep an eye on it and keep an eye on where prices these cars are going before you make that decision. Right, last up on historic site, a car for the brave. Now Harry's got one at Harry's garage and he spent a fortune getting his to look as good as it does. It's now one of the better examples. Now if you want to do content on YouTube on a build and get a lot of views, and I'm not brave enough, then this Lamborghini Espada, a Series 3, one of the later ones, might be the car for you. I mean, it's just got an amazing V12 engine, unique looks, fits for adults, a stunning car. However, it should come with a health and a wealth warning because the money you'll have to spend on this could be quite nasty. You've really got to look at what the end goal is, how much it's going to cost you to get this up to speed, and if you're going to keep it, if you're going to saw on it and invest it, that's something different. But with 19,000 miles on the odometer, might not be real, and at possible 20 to 30,000, what a car for a project. Don't get this if you're not mechanically minded or your brother-in-law's not a mechanic. It could be too much heartache and it could take too much time for you to realise the value of this as an asset. But what a fabulous car. Right, moving to the iconic auctioneer site. I mean, look at this. If you're going to get a rally replica sort of car and you've got a penchant for rally as your chosen motorsport, then look at this. I mean, what an evocative car in a fantastic, memorable livery. It's a Group B rally recreation of the Audi Quattro. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's the kind of car that if you're at an event for classic cars, people are just going to come up to you in their droves saying, oh, I remember this when it was racing, etc., etc. They'll be obviously expecting it to be the genuine article, but at 250 for £500,000, that's not going to happen. Now this one's estimated up to about 38,000, which I think for the car anyway is bloody good, never mind a recreation of this calibre. So I'll take a look at the iconic site and see what you think about it. Another recreation car that stood out to me iconic is this RSR, based on the fabulous and probably the prettiest of all the 911 versions, the 993. It's got the 3.8 litre engine, as you'd expect, which carried on right up to the 997, which is probably acknowledged to be the most fantastic of the engines in terms of engagement and overall quality. I mean, look at this, what a fabulous car. Any 911 now just seems to be ultra desirable. At any moment the market could pick up again. It's had a recent fallback in the current economic climate, but what a fabulous car. Again, it's just something you want to be seen in, and it's orange, it's resplendent, it's going to stand out at events. You're going to have a lot of fun driving this car. Yes, again, it's not the real thing, but the real thing is going to set you back a fortune. So this is your opportunity to get into a car that looks and will go that good. Alright, another car that's on my list, this is also from Iconic, is a Clio V6. This is a trophy car, as used in the racing series. That makes it more special, and obviously it'll stand out far more at events. It's already a great car. It's a car I'm definitely going to buy probably in the next 18 months to 2 years, because they're actually, I think, good value, although prices have risen dramatically in the last couple of years. But at an estimated price of around 36 to 42 at the auction, I think this could be a very strong pickup. Alright, moving on to the Car and Classic site, I noticed this one, 944 Turbo Cabriolet. On first inspection online, it looks decent. It's in an interesting colour livery. Now, 10,000 with reserve not met with 4 days to go. By the time you've watched this, it might well have gone. But you've probably had to look historically at what it went for. Because if you're into for a sort of robust German classic cabriolet car for not a lot of money, and you don't want a Boxster because it's a hairdresser's car, then this is your next obvious choice. Again, at the price you'll be picking them up, whether it's somewhere between 10 and 20,000, you're unlikely to ever lose money. You're going to have a wonderful time driving it, and again, it's an attention grabber, and it's very much a car of that era that people kind of really fell in love with. Whilst I was on Car and Classic, I noticed another Mitsubishi Lancer Evo. This one's a 7. They'll be taking bids from the 5th of February, which is probably when this video goes up. The colour is amazing. I don't think I've seen one in that colour. I'd be tempted to put white stripes over it. I think that would really set it off, and paint the wheels white. But utterly fabulous. Just a legendary car. The eye-catching part of this, apart from the livery, is that it's going to be serviced on collection, and it's only done 12,000 miles. I'm not going to waste your time now going into details about the car. The link will be below. But that's the kind of car that everybody desires. It's still a road weapon. Well, next up on Car and Classic, a fabulous German convertible, but a 2-seater. This is the one with the doors that drop down. I don't think there's another car where this happens. That in itself makes it special. I think the styling at the front makes it quite unique. The styling at the back, a little bit suspect. But overall, what a great package. What a standout car. A car that gets you a huge amount of attention and probably won't cost too much to get into. A 1990 car, it's getting on a bit now, getting up to 34 years of age, but it doesn't look it, and it's super rare. Rare means there's a shortage of supply, and there's always a demand for this sort of car. This is a low mileage example with an all-important full service including cam belts. Now, cam belts is not something you ever worry about with a modern car anymore. It's a thing of the past. In Ferraris, it's terrifically important, but in cars of this ilk, it is also important that they've been done and the car's being maintained throughout. You don't want to get this car and have it blow up just on the back of a small, cheap part that hasn't been done serviced properly. So bear in mind this for any car of this sort of era. Also on Car and Classic is another car that I wish to own. As seen on my video a couple of months back of the 25 cars that I wish to purchase at some point in the near future. Now this is an extremely early, it might even be the first year, Chevrolet Corvette. This is the first series, but it's called the C1 rather than S1. And what I like about this particular version is the back end with the kind of flying buttresses. It's still got that fabulous curved leather interior and curved window. And it's got the single lights with the sharp tooth grille. Overall stunning car. I wouldn't go for this one personally. I prefer the ones about the 1959 era, the really smooth back that tapers down. They've also usually got two-tone paint job, which I think really suits the car, but I'm a big fan of those white wall wheels. Now typically with these sort of cars, they will have been restored either to a smaller amount or a huge amount of restoration, which means you're going to get a fabulous running car. The other bonus is these American engines are very simple to work on. Any old school mechanic, yes they're a dying breed, but they are out there, would be able to sort and maintain this car for you at a reasonable rate compared to a modern sports car. It's just hugely evocative. It's kind of emotional as you look at it. It'll always be in demand, and a fabulous car to take to events. Now staying with American cars, I'm a big fan of the C1 and the C2. The C2 is fantastic. It's kind of like the Mustang Eleanor equivalent. But the C3 is also a very attractive car. It's extremely phallic, it's long and it's slim, very curvy, very iconic as well. One of the greatest sequence of American sports cars, without a shadow of a doubt. This one in black is exactly the right colour. I think it can look also okay in silver, but I think black is the perfect colour for this car. I mean, really talking about, a couple of years old low-end BMW, when you could be driving around in style in a car like that. I know where my money would go. Again, American, easy to maintain. There's lots of specialists out there. The only thing you're going to have with these cars is the bodywork might be a bit suspect, but at this sort of price you're going to expect certain blemishes. Right, last but not least, also on Car and Classic, I spotted another Audi Quattro. This is a fabulous, extremely rare, metallic, mid-green colour. I mean, look at that picture, it's just shining. This is a shining star of a car with its fabulous BBS type wheels. This shouts perfect spec to me. Bidding's going to be start soon. They're expecting this one to go 50 to 55, which is significantly higher than the other one I showed you earlier in the video. But just look at that. End of the day, price is very much down to its particular provenance, how it's been looked after, mileage, if it's had a really strong regular service history, and general upkeep of the car and the quality of the finish of the interior, the exterior and the wheels. That all dictates that kind of final price and what someone's willing to pay for it. But I think if you can get this in that range of 50 to 55, what a wonderful car to drive around in. What a wonderful car to have for a long term. Right, that's it for this month, early February's list of cars that I think are out there you might want to look at. Remember to subscribe, because I'll be doing this update regularly, at least at the start of every month. As I said, possibly every 2 weeks. I'll really try and find the time to do it, because I know, like me, there's a lot of people out there who've got their eyes on these sort of cars, and when they've got the fund, they will just pounce on it. So I hope that was tremendously useful. I'll see you next time. 8 out.